Subnautica Below Zero is... Ah! Let's take a quick look at the game's opening. The game thrusts you right into the action as during a meteor storm, you take a little space pod and you... Piss! No! I'm okay! The game starts you off in a really intense environment, the ground being pummeled by meteors as you have to find your way to safety. Ooh, a nutrient block. First order of business? I'm a bit cold. These things look warm. Oh yeah, that's better. And of course, having to take care of your temperature in this environment is actually very reasonable and a great introduction to how the game works. Not only do you have the immediate danger of the meteorites to deal with, this place is also fiercely cold. This is a survival game where lots of things are gonna try and kill you, not just the things that look big and scary. And you've just been thrust into a scenario filled with all different kinds of danger. In fact, you've been so impacted by this that you say,
"Holy smokes."
You're then able to make your way to the sea, which you're going to spend the majority of the game getting all wet in. I first played this game when it was in early access, and back then the game's opening was very different. Now, I don't actually have my own footage of the game's original opening, so for this section of the video, I'm going to borrow some footage from Markiplier, which will have the unfortunate effect of there being a handsome man in the corner of the screen. I'm sorry, I can't do anything about that. The game used to open with you waking up nice and safe and cozy in a scientific research facility, not in fact being pelted with giant space rocks. You can explore the facility and its surroundings at your leisure, but once you leave the facility, you'll be prompted to go to the other location that you can get to.
This is Vesper, come in.
Hi.
Oh, hi, Mark.
We lost contact with Jeffries up at the research site.
Okay, I'll check it out.
You make your way down to the research site, being introduced to the same... Yeah, before you find yourself in a massive ice cave containing a mysterious alien Mark, please focus, that's a blue turd. Containing a massive alien building. When you approach the building, it talks to you and denies you access to its insides, like the devs will if you approach them at a con. Your character, despite being a researcher here, seems kinda surprised by all of this.
Access denied. Further efforts will be denied forcefully. Concede, Robin.
How'd you know my name?
The final stage of the game's original opening sees a storm roll in, causing massive damage to the surrounding area. Your nice, cozy, toasty research facility is buried under an avalanche, while this frozen water, or ice, is smashed by collapsing debris, granting you access to the water caves below and beyond them, the sea. Thus leaving you in the same situation as the game's current opening leaves you, but with a lot more information and a lot more open questions. What the fuck was all that about? More specifically, who is Jeffries? Where did Jeffries go? Is Jeffries' disappearance related to the facility kicking out Robin and the facility saying her name? Why did the alien facility say Robin's name? Did Jeffries do something to the facility? Well, if like me, curiosity is one of your most burning drives, you would have been hooked right away. And you'll be glad when I tell you now that if you played the game for yourself, you won't get answers to any of these questions because all this content was cut from the game. Oh, did I say glad? That's what I meant to say. This was a joke. There is no Jeffries in the game anymore. R.I.P. Jeffries. You really were a person whose name I'd forgotten. If you are curious how this storyline would have ended originally, you can find all of the available information on the Subnautica Below Zero wiki. All one paragraph of it. Hang on a second, on this part of the page, the name Joe Jeffries is a link. Maybe if I click it, I'll get more information. Or maybe nothing will happen. So imagine you're me for a second. Calm down, I know. Imagine that like me, you first played through some of this game when it was still in early access. You hopped on early, saw the game's original opening, played through the content that was available at the time, then put it down until the game's full release when you picked it back up again to play the full thing. If you had a decent memory, the changes to the game's story would have been immediately apparent to you. The two openings you've seen to this same game have introduced you to two wildly different sets of plot points. You won't magically know how much of the original story has been rewritten, but you'll definitely know that some significant changes have been made, especially once you've got a decent way into the story and you've still seen no mention of a lot of the stuff from the original opening. Stuff from that version of the opening that you have seen in the full release of the game, like your sister Sam, are integrated into the story in a very different way to how they were originally. If you're like me, it probably wouldn't have taken you long to push all of that stuff from the original opening out of your mind. You're playing a different story now. You're not going to be thinking about the original opening as you're playing the full version of the game, any more than you will be making sure to keep Star Wars in mind as you're eating a kebab. Now, with the title of this video in mind, I feel that it would be amiss of me and that I would be doing the devs a big disservice if I didn't mention that I'm, pretty sure that most of the ways in which this game is awesome are, on purpose. I'm here to talk about how it accidentally gave me a very unique experience that I thought was awesome. But that doesn't mean this game isn't great deliberately as well. One thing that's always impressed me about Subnautica and its sequel is how naturally they introduce a system of progression. Some games, when they don't want you to access a particular area yet, will just put a big artificial barrier of blockage in your way and say, nah, sorry, you're not allowed to go to this area until you've collected a golden orb from the silo of impotence. Subnautica and Subnautica Below Zero are both games that want to limit the player's access to the world. Reaching a new area is something that gives you a sense of achievement when you're playing a Subnautica game. At the same time though, they're both completely open world games with no artificial restrictions put in place. At any time, you can point your player in any direction and attempt to go that way. But the limiting factor that determines where you can and can't go is a completely natural result of the game's setting and mechanics. You might have noticed, especially if you've played the game, that Subnautica takes place predominantly underwater. And if you hadn't noticed, oh gee, I bet you're kicking yourself now. The character you play as, however, is a human being, a species of mammal that needs to suck oxygen out of air constantly or it'll die. At the start of the game, you can only hold your breath for 45 seconds without dying. Pathetic. Your access to oxygen is what places the limit on where you can and can't go. All the devs need to do is place an area slightly deeper, and players won't be able to access it as easily without suffocating. If there's something cool, but it takes you 20 seconds to swim deep enough to see it, you only have 5 seconds to look at it before you need to take the 20 seconds to swim back to the surface to avoid drowning. And if it took you 30 seconds to swim there, well, you're going the same way Jeffries went. This means that being able to access new areas is a completely natural result of acquiring equipment that increases your oxygen capacity or your movement speed. If you can breathe for 30 seconds longer, this opens up a whole new realm of possibilities for where you can get to. This is one of my favorite aspects of these games because it's just so elegant and simple. No big walls, convenient geography, or just you can't go here yet. Just a simple consequence of the environment being elegantly incorporated into the design of the game. And that was all done on purpose, probably. Once you can dive deep enough, you'll run into one of the main aspects of this game's story. Alan. Subnautica Below Zero spoilers from here on out, I guess. Alan is just your average alien consciousness that can hop between bodies and spends the majority of the game's story living in your brain with you. This isn't an arrangement either of you are particularly happy about. Over the course of the story, you work towards building Alan his own new body to occupy so that he won't be with you as you're shitting and pissing anymore. Unless he wants to be, I guess, that's fine. Once he finally has his own body and the game is clearly building up towards towards its climax, Alan tells you to meet him in a location that, at least in my current playthrough, I hadn't discovered yet. So relatively hyped to see how a game I was already engaged in was going to end, I made my way there with no idea what it was I was going to find. The directions I'd been given took me through some underwater caves to a place I had never been before. I had no idea what this area was, but I knew it was going to be big and important. I took in my surroundings, thoroughly immersed, and stepped forward to see what it was I was going to find. I know this place. This is the base from the original opening, but it's abandoned and decayed. No one's been here for a long time. Shit, I thought all of this stuff was cut from the game. I'd put it completely out of my mind. I can't wait to... what? Okay. I can't wait to... This is harder than it looks, I promise. I can't get up here, I don't know why. I promise I have never failed at walking up a staircase before. That's not true. I fall a lot, I'm clumsy. Man, this is making it really hard to maintain atmosphere in the video. Yeah, there we go. Dramatic recreation of my first reaction aside, this place is real cool. I had no idea I was about to turn a corner and see a dilapidated version of a base I'd already seen. Felt like it was from a different world, I never expected to see it here. And on top of that, the fact that it was here meant that there was probably something much cooler just around the corner. I had so many questions about that alien building from the original opening that I'd forgotten about until now. Not just questions about Jeffries, who, yeah, is not in this game anymore, but just questions about the place itself. What is it? What's it for? And you know, just what's inside? It's time to go to a place I never thought I was gonna go again. Oh hey, the turd is green now. Was the dramatic music too much there? It captured how I felt at the time. So this is how, completely by accident, Subnautica Below Zero gave me one of my most awesome experiences in gaming, and a completely unique one at that. By showing me this location in an early access version of the game, it had foreshadowed to me this conclusion in a way that I could never have predicted. I already had information about this game's conclusion without realizing it in any way because it came from a completely meta place. It was the same kind of satisfaction that you get when you're watching a mystery story and you see all of these different elements combined together in a way that you hadn't predicted but totally makes sense. Your mind blown away by all the answers you've got and fast processing everything this could mean. There's a unique form of satisfaction in knowing a load of information and then seeing that information become relevant in a context you never expected it to. It's like a surprise crossover between two of your favorite shows in a dramatic point in the story. Ow! You knew way more than you thought and you just needed that little tap. And you realize how much you know, and the floodgates open as you think about how much this could mean. The fact that the base was dilapidated as well, for me, really contributed to the sense that I was coming back after a long time gone. A lot of time had passed since I'd last been here, and seeing that reflected really enhanced the surprise. It felt like I was really coming back to this place after the time I'd spent away from it, that I was finding myself in the last place I ever expected to find myself in this game. I sincerely doubt that the devs thought to put all of this stuff in the early access version of the game so that when people went back and played the full release, they'd have this unique form of satisfaction. But it's something that could be done deliberately. We live in a unique time for media. More so than ever, people aren't just watching stuff, they're watching everything that surrounds the stuff they're watching. A trailer releasing for a highly anticipated film is more of an event now than it's ever been before. So it's the perfect time for some artist who wants to blow their audience away to hide stuff in the meta. Use the knowledge that your audience will probably have consumed trailers or early access demos or anything to enhance the art itself. Put a part of the art outside the art in a way that no one will expect, but a lot of people will appreciate. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. Goodbye.